Guest host today, David Basnice, Chief Economist at Beta Shares. Also getting a check-in for more on this story. We're joined now by Peter McGuire from XM Group. Peter, hello to you. Great to have you with us this morning. And of course, David here in studio with me. In terms of what we are watching, it was those moves very much, not only in the euro, the single currency overnight, but we naturally continue to keep a firm eye on the Australian dollar also.
Well, exactly right, Natalie, and good morning. You know, when you're thinking about Draghi's comments, we're waiting for autumn. We're running at around about that 116. There's every chance you could see a 120 handle, I think, probably later in the year. There's no doubting that the US dollar index, well off its highs that we experienced in Christmas at around about 103, it's trading at 94 approximately at the moment. So that's shown you, as the US dollar falls, Aussies at 79, Kiwis 2-year high. So it's very interesting, and certainly our retail clients are, very much engaged in this volatility.
Well, just on that idea of the Australian dollar, bringing in my guest host today, David Basnice of Beta Shares, also, much of the commentary and much of the dialogue surrounding the future moves from the Australian dollar are suggestions that it is very much offshore action against domestic. We look ahead to even, for instance, David, the Federal Reserve meeting next week, and a lot of some of that greenback weakness that we've also seen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to get much from the Federal Reserve at the next meeting. I think that the focus will be on the September meeting, where I think they're going to announce the beginnings of the rundown of the bonds next year. But I think, there's in terms of the international, it's actually mixed, the outlook globally, because you've got the ECB talking about tightening, you've got the Fed. Although they are tightening, the Yellen's speech last week did downplay the prospect of higher interest rates down the track if inflation remains low. So the US dollar does remain on the back foot, and that's helped push up the Aussie accordingly. And there's this debate as how aggressive the Fed will be, not so much this year, but next year and the year after. So that medium-term outlook for US interest rates under review at the moment.
Pete, bringing you into this conversation because, of course, not only do we look to some of those domestic and offshore sort of macro events when it comes to the Australian dollar, but we also look for supportive action in the commodity space. And given some of the moves that we have seen, oil at that 7-week high, iron ore prices also higher, again providing much support for the local currency.
Well, exactly right, Natalie. When you're thinking about what oil's done, 43 to 46, it's had a very, very solid uptick. You've had the money managers and hedge funds clamouring positions, buying in the reality of it, closing down a large portion of their short positions and stacking longer positions. So that's pushed it up. You've seen gold have a very nice run up in the last matter of, 6 or 7 trading sessions, a bit of profit taking, but, 1235, 1240 sort of range. And then thinking about what the Aussie's done, who would have thought a couple of months ago that you would have seen that Aussie running nearly at 80? And there's every chance you could probably push through that. The US dollar's probably got further downside, and that's going to take a lot of pressure off the US in the sense of raising rates. So they're getting a little bit of an assistance at the moment. So it's very interesting how it's going to play over the next couple of months with Yellen, Draghi, and of course our own RBA.
Absolutely. Interesting, as you mentioned, we did see gold at a 3-week high off the back of those ECB commentary. This as we saw the dollar falling, the euro surging. David, just on that idea of some of the commodity price action, we also had steel production coming through overnight, perhaps unsurprisingly. China and the broader Asia region really dominating that steel production. What's your take on the broader commodity space at the moment?
Well, I think the weakness of the US dollar is obviously the big driver here. We've seen gold, bounce and oil bounce. I mean, fundamentally, I'm still not a big believer in a commodity rally. I think most markets are still oversupplied. Oil is still well oversupplied, but just we're seeing a bit of a technical bounce from having been oversold probably in the short run. Plus the US dollar continuing to weaken, which does tend to help commodity prices. So overall, the sentiment, gold is doing well on the back of the weakness of the US dollar. Until that changes, gold is going to continue to do well in this environment.
Peter, on that idea, we've had the miners coming through, 8 of the big mining names this week starting through with their productions. We've had 3 of the big 4 done. And in terms of some of the themes coming through, it's been certainly less tons of iron ore set to come out in 2017. This perhaps not so good, but one area where it is certainly positive for is the second half of 2017 iron ore prices.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Look, they were hammered to the downside, and the correlation between oil, it's been said that, they're nearly into a point of a lockstep. There's every chance you could see, the iron ore price rally a little bit from here. That the underperforming US dollar is going to strengthen it, and that overall wash over to all commodities, even to the point of agriculture. But I think that, that's that energy sector. Whilst we've got oversupply there, I think that there's going to be enough updraft in the next couple of years for iron ore capacity, and not only that, but consumption out of Asia. That's only going to increase demographics, and so the storyline really, I don't think, changes too much. Short-term volatility, but longer-term, I think you'll be, not a bad place to be, that whole sector.
Interesting, certainly in terms of some of the stocks that we're looking to. BHP Billiton so far seems to have come out on top when it comes to that iron ore production. Pete McGuire, on that note, we will have to say goodbye, but thank you so much for the time.